Okay, boys. So just to quickly recap, all right, based on it's a long-standing gimmick when it comes to Pint Party, and all the viewers will know it. It's my father and the gimmick that he is. So over the last, I'm going to say month and a half, China is currently going through summer, right? So summer season over there, we're in winter, complete opposites. So our gimmick has been voice memos. We've been sending voice memos to each other, almost daily, just catching up and talking about life in quarantine and all that kind of stuff. And one of the other things that we're also doing is that he has started to send me progress shots of him at home with his shirt off, right? But the gimmick of it all, and the reason why the apple really just does not fall far from the tree, is that coinciding with the voice memo stuff, he would send me the snap, and he would go, "Hi, son. Haha. Here is me, an update of me at my gym and my progress shots with my body," right? And the first time he sent that to me, I sent back a voice memo message, and I was just like, "What are you doing? Why the fuck is your shirt off for?" Right? And then after that, he failed to acknowledge that message first, right? This is a month and a half ago.
Yep.
He sends me 3 videos of him eating food and bragging about the food that he's eating in China at the moment. And then subsequently after that, he sent me another voice memo responding to my one, being like, "Hi, son. Haha. Reason my shirt is off is it is summer in China, but also I want you to see my progress with my body at my gym." Now, that's all well and good. That's all great, right? I'm very for him sending me progress shots of him at the gym. But it's not just that's not his only motive, right? Because he is a Yang after all, and he is the father of me. So he's got an ulterior motive, which is proved by my message I got from him last night. So he sends me a fucking voice memo last night, which is I can't even say it without popping myself. Literally at like 11:50, I've got this. I'm half cut. I'm falling asleep, and it's just, "Hi, son. Haha. I've heard Melbourne has gone back into lockdown. Haha. So the gyms are closing, but my gym in my house is still open, and I train still." And then he sent me another fucking shot with his shirt on, bragging about how much fucking size he's put on, using his gym at home. I am done with this man. He has been coming at me for the last 4 months, bragging about the fact that he has a gym at home because he knows I can't train here. He knows it.
That's such a dad move, though.
Oh,
I mean, at the end of the day,
he's my cunt.
it's classic dad.
Oh my!
And like, credit to him, the man is 60 this year, and he's looking fucking trim. All right, like he's putting on some damn size, but he's doing it at the cost of my size.
I mean, if the trend continues, if he gets bulkier and you get less bulkier, at some point you're going to meet in the middle.
We are, and like I never thought that day would ever come. Like, I've been a big kid throughout my life, right? And over the last couple of years, I've started to take it upon myself and cut out most of the fat. And now it's like I've gotten to a good point. I've gotten to a good point in my size chart. But he must have had the same idea because he has a small frame, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm considerably taller than him and obviously got a larger frame on me. But he's now just looked at this, and like last time I was there, I must have said something to him that triggered this thing in his brain where he's just gone, "Wait, no, David's right. Weights is better than cardio in some aspects." So he's now just decked out the top floor of his house with just gym equipment after it was just treadmill shit, and it now cannot stop bragging about it. But it just so happened that the world had to go in a pandemic, and now I can't train. So this crossroads is inevitable. I never thought this day would come. I'm convinced he's also trying to outlive me. Because if I'm him in his situation and I had a son, my motive would be, I'm going to outlive you. And that's just the kind of man he is.
Yeah.
He's a competitive motherfucker, just like me.
Yeah, and that's a very strong motive. But could it also be like a competitive thing? Like he sees how bulky you're going and going, "I can't let him outshine me."
Yes and no, because for the most part of my life, he'd be like, my fat son, and then give me a pat and like just like kind of like laugh it off, which like, father-son kind of dynamic. Obviously, different cultures, different things, but in our culture, it's okay. So like after a couple of years, I've been trimming down to a point where it's like, yeah, this is my son. I'm so proud of the progress you've made. But you might be right, John. There might be this underlying thing where it's just in his head. He's just like, no, now he's Now he's kicking it into gear. I guess now I got to kick it into gear.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Because I guess maybe he's looked at himself when he was 25 and just gone, wait, now this he's on track to surpass me. Well, no way. I'm not letting this motherfucker surpass me. He's got a good 35 years on me, and he's still out competing against me.
Or at the very least, he's trying to not make it easy for you.
Well, he's definitely not making it. He's put on some size. He's put on some genuine size. Obviously, no one's seen the photos, and I'm not too comfortable throwing them up. But just take my word for it.
Yeah.
This man, small, petite Asian frame, very typical Asian frame. But now after and I'm gonna say 4 months worth of consistent weights training. Like it looks like it's been 4 months worth of consistent weights training. Mm-hmm. He's stacked up, man. He is stacked up. Credit to him, but also go fuck yourself.
So how close is he to like the Bruce Lee look?
Oh, not far off.
Because I mean, that's like Chinese Arnold Schwarzenegger right there. You know
yeah, absolutely.
Comparing
Bruce Lee, the entirety of Asia loves Bruce Lee. So in terms of, because Bruce Lee was trim though.
But he had bulk.
Yeah, he had bulk to him, but every fiber in his body had purpose. Like that's the thing with Bruce Lee. You look at Bruce Lee and you look at him compared to like the culture of today's weightlifting scene, where it's like size, but the fibers of our muscles aren't completely attuned to how much weight and mass we have on it. Yeah. So some people will be huge but won't be that strong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas Bruce Lee, every fiber of his body and every fiber in his muscles all had a purpose. They were all being used because that was just through years and years of training. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying that my father is at that level, and I don't think any person in history would ever get to the level of Bruce Lee ever again.
No, nobody does.
But in terms of size,
you try and get close.
Oh yeah, you try and get close. My father doesn't do fucking martial arts though. I mean, he'll claim to do martial arts, but that man doesn't do martial arts.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not. Yeah. That's an argument that's between you and Daddy Young there, my dude.
That's between me and him. That motherfucker doesn't do martial arts. He's tried taking me down before to no avail.
Well, there you go. That's the one up you can have. It's sort of like, all right, you can lift more weights than me right now, but I can still take you in a street fight. And with that, welcome to Pint Party, a podcast designed to turn a beer and a chat into a tax write-off. I'm your host, John McLeish, and joining me this week are the Bant Boys themselves, Ricki, Needs, and David Young. Boys, welcome.
Good afternoon. Hello, Ricki. How are you?
I'm fine.
You sound lovely.
How did you spend your evening, Ricki?
Yeah, Ricki, regale us with the tale of what you were doing at age 30 this morning.
Guess who discovered Minecraft during lockdown? I've legit never played it before.
That's the most surprising thing to me. Just because Minecraft isn't a new game. Like, it's been around.
No, I know.
Geez, how long has it been around for now?
I want to say 9 years. I think it came out in 2011. Earlier.
I would say it's been nearly like out my entire 20s and I just skipped it.
Yeah.
Now,
I think the beauty of this is that you've managed to skip it, but then when you found it, it's the exact same thing that happened to all of us when we found it, despite it being 9 years later.
Yeah.
You still get grabbed by it, and then you're up until 7 a.m. playing it.
Started fucking digging and that was it. Like I went from
fucking digging and that was it.
Like last night, I made my first ever server, just myself, and I've already got like 3 dedicated mines, 2 houses, a fucking like beachfront property as well. Like it, just insane how much progress I made in that little time.
Shoot, and surely I am. If you're committed, I'm 100% down to play some Minecraft with you.
I'll actually buy a copy of Minecraft for the first time in my life legitimately to play, if you're up for it.
If we could start like a fucking Pint Party goddamn Artifacts server, oh my god.
Well, I'm currently playing it on...
still view well? Does it view well on Twitch still? Like, if you were to go on Twitch and type in Minecraft, is there people still doing it?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck me. Good on them.
I wouldn't say it's like top 5 or top 10 anymore, but I reckon it's probably consistently top 20.
Yeah, it's pretty consistently ranked up there. Especially, it's still just as huge on YouTube.
Oh yeah, YouTube is still massive because like as long as you're not swearing or nothing, it's huge for kids. Like, if you because there's now actually on the back end of YouTube, there's now a little thing you can tick that's like is the product or is the content for kids, like specifically made for kids. And I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that are clicking that, even though it's probably not true. But that gets then trafficked more towards people that have like the parental lock and stuff on. So, and like that's the thing with, that's why all these ridiculous, like those terrible 3D modeled channels that have like nursery rhymes and stuff like that were getting like hundreds of millions of views a couple of years ago, is because they would get traffic towards kids, and like parents would just hand their kid the iPad, turn autoplay on, like filter out, you know, just kids stuff, and then the kids would just sit there for hours holding the iPad watching these terrible bloody videos, but they were racking up. And like the crazy thing is, and there were these like rendering farms in India that were pumping out these videos that were like, it was like Spider-Man, the Avengers, Elsa, Yo Gabba Gabba and stuff, and it would render out the same video just with a different 3D model, the same song, and it would just pump them out and auto upload them to YouTube with like the same metadata, and it would just get fed into like kids' YouTube, and they were racking up like 200 million, 300 million, 400 million views consistently, because kids were just watching it, just letting it autoplay over and over again in front of them on their iPads, and it was insane.
Do you reckon there's a low-key market for us to like start a Potty Pals subsidiary where we just do kid-friendly content and then just make some Minecraft videos?
No.
Not even worth. We'll just be.
No, that like if you think like bloody going into the podcast pool is drowning, and it is, going into the kids content pool is like going into the Pacific Ocean with weights on your feet. Like you ain't swimming. That ain't happening.
Yeah, not to mention we'd have to gear the entire channel towards kids content, because otherwise YouTube's just not going to play nice.
Oh yeah, fuck that then.
And I mean, like not a few minutes ago you just called yourself a cunt, like, and that's going to be on YouTube.
Fuck it, we'll just do a pint party after dark where we just play Minecraft. I'm still so down to play Minecraft with you.
Yeah, we gotta. Yeah, we can't filter ourselves, man. Like that's.
It's hard enough that I have to do it on radio.
Yeah.
You know how many times I have to bite my hand and just go, I can't say fuck here.
Did you know, like, because when I was doing radio, it was a 5-minute segment. It was hard enough. You're doing it for 2 hours. I found it so hard to like get through a movie review without saying shit or fuck. It was ridiculous.
I was cutting a promo yesterday because on live we found out that there was 200 and something cases that were just found, and it was so hard for me to not just be like, you fucking idiots, relax. Relax in fucking Victoria. Which great segue. Can we fucking talk about?
Hang on, before we get into that, let's talk about the headline there, which is that, you know, because there's a lot of people who listen to us who aren't from Victoria and don't really know what's up, or even from Australia. Melbourne's gone back into lockdown, and I just this is kind of like a PSA, not really specifically aimed at my mother, but my mother raised the point with me when I was on the phone with her for her birthday. Basically, my mum, I'm not even kidding, when I was talking to her on the phone, this was like before the lockdown, but basically she actually said to me, "Are you okay down there?" Because she's in Central Victoria. She's like, "Are you okay down there? Because like all we're hearing up here is that it's bloody bedlam down there. Like yous are all running around covered in piss and shit, just like fucking coughing all over each other." I'm like, "No, Mum, it's not chaos down here. It's still Melbourne. Like we wear suits and drink coffee and think we're superior to the rest of Australia. Like we haven't changed. It's all still the same. There's just an extra 10,000 dickheads that can now actually affect us more than they usually do." And so that's what's happened. And as a result, we've gone back into lockdown, just in the city too. It's not the whole state; it's just the city. So everybody outside of metropolitan Melbourne and the Shire of something, which includes Wallen, if I remember it correctly. And I only remember that because I got a mate of mine from university who was from Wallen. We're all in stage 3 lockdown, which means we can still leave our house, but we've got. We're not allowed to leave unless it's for certain specific reasons, and we're absolutely not allowed to leave the city. That is the one, like, quote-unquote hard lockdown thing we've got, is that you're absolutely not allowed to leave the city. There's, like, border checkpoints and shit now, too.
The state is in lockdown. You can't leave.
Oh, yeah, you can't leave the state, but, Melburnians can't even leave the city.
Yeah, we can't leave Melbourne, but you can't, because, like, my parents live on a border town. 2 days ago, whenever like the day before lockdown went back into effect, there was a line to get over the bridge and get out of the state.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that.
They got all the way to Dubbo,
Dubbo,
and then got turned around.
What?
and got told to get the fuck back into Victoria.
Oh, I don't blame him. What? Why were they like? For the most part, I mean, okay, I don't know. Maybe this is me being a Melburnian, but like, why the fuck would you want to go to New South Wales just to go to New South Wales? Like,
oh, to quote Dan Andrews there, why would you want to go to fucking South Australia as well?
Exactly.
Said that 3 days before we had 60 new cases.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, why would you want to go there?
Why would you want to go there?
198 cases 3 days
They
later.
are getting the fuck out of the COVID state because everywhere else is doing pretty well.
Oh, is that what it is? They're refugees.
They just don't want to be in Victoria. They don't want to be locked down.
Look,
it's
I think one of the... Yeah, sorry, Ricky.
It's mostly retirees who have got caravans and they're just getting the fuck out because they can just go and park on the side of a road or in a national park for 3 weeks or whatever.
And John, I'm absolutely with you because one of the funniest memes I've seen over the last week has been, I would rather be fucking locked down in Melbourne than free in Sydney. All right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I don't fucking care. I'd rather stay
quality.
here.
Top quality.
Yeah. Or the one that actually, honest to God, really struck a chord with me. The one that honestly hit home. And this is why I love memes and the internet and social media. Is just every now and again there's a conflagration of events and words, and like for the most part you just go, that's funny. But you know you do the nose blow and that's it.
You do the outer nose, yeah.
You do the outer nose thing, but every now and again it's very rare, but it does happen. And it happens, and a chord is struck. You know, like the chord of the universe is struck. The Om, as the Hindus like to say, gets struck. And I saw the Madman meme where it was sort of like the rest of Australia, like everyone in Australia, I feel sorry for you. And then it's it's John Hamm saying, I don't even think about you at all. And that's true. Like that was the chord that got struck when it was sort of like everybody was looking at us trying to take pity on us. And I'm like, bro, I literally don't think about you at all. Like in my day-to-day life, like I really don't. it's, I was like, oh my God, it got me right in my soul, boys. It got me right in the soul. It really did. Like it's very rare that a meme will do that, and this is one of those extremely rare times that it did. And yeah, that's exactly how I feel about it. And that's it. And that's why I was like, why on earth would you want to go to New South Wales just to go to New South Wales? But yeah, you're right. I think it's the Firefly You Can't Take the Sky From Me group who are like, yeah, I don't want to be under any kind of government fucking tyranny bullshit.
I'll tell you what. Before the pandemic, I didn't even subscribe to this whole, like, you know, there's a difference between states thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe it's just me. And, like, I've studied politics. Like, I understand why we have states in our semi-federalism kind of constitution. But, like, I have never sat back and gone, I identify as Victorian. I was like, no, I identify as Australian, right? To me, all states, I don't give a shit. Then this pandemic hits, and now I'm starting to find, like, introspectively inside that I am Victorian. And I'm starting to see, like, I'm not fuck you Sydney-siders, fuck you South Australians, fuck you WA. Like, I'm starting to feel this Victoria bias in my blood that I never knew I had. It's just like dormant until the pandemic hit. Then it was like, no, wait. Now I care about state politics.
Yeah, outside of Victoria and New South Wales, like that was the only time I would ever hard differentiate. But for the rest of the country, I wasn't bothered in the slightest. It was sort of like, you know, yeah, we're all Aussies, it's fine. Except when it came to Sydney. And it wasn't even the rest of New South Wales. Like, anybody who came from Dubbo, I was chill with. It was only specifically Sydney that I would take umbrage with. And then the whole rest of New South Wales, I was chill.
The only beef I had with Sydney before the pandemic was that one time I did a road trip to Sydney, and their fucking just city construct is stupid. It's stupid. Yeah, like, you can't turn right in Sydney.
Fucking terrible. I'm gonna say, David, let the hate flow through you. Because like that's the thing, like, because I think it might have been because like growing up in a border town, New South Wales is right there, and you kind of just like, fuck you guys. Also,
walking alongside the Murray, you just flip them off. Fuck you guys.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. And like, because like in every
God, it's literally like, Springfield and Shelbyville.
It is 100%. And the thing is, we are like, Echuca was definitely Springfield because we were the bigger town by about 5,000 people. Like Nima was tiny compared to us. But like every sport, like cricket, footy, like all the local shit, we always played each other. So, and you'd have all the people that were born over there. And the thing is with Miami is the town itself is pretty shitty compared to Echuca, but all of the like sort of out of town nice estates on the river are really kind of nice. So all the like little prick kids at school, most of them lived in Weimar and would come across the border to come to school. So you were like, fuck you guys. In saying that, one of my best mates is from like that side of the river, but I don't hold that against him. He now lives in Victoria. Strong. But
He's
saw the light
now.
yeah, he's become a Springfield. He's no longer a Shelbyvillian. But yeah, I think it's just because like growing up in the border town, that hate is real for New South Wales. Don't know why, but I've always been like a very staunch, like I'm a Victorian. Fuck New South Wales. Fucking stupid.
This.
Hey, fuck your rugby because it's a dumb sport. AFL's way better. Sydney, shit city. You're right. Driving there is a pain in the ass. You fucking CBD. You've got 3 different CBDs and none of them are good. You've got fucking like downtown Chinatown. You've got King's Cross, which is now dead because of your stupid lockout laws. And then you've got fucking Darling Harbour, which is like, ooh, look, we've got an opera house. Woohoo. Fucking, it's just, I cannot describe how much I hate Sydney.
Look, devil's advocate, I'm very okay with the opera house. I think it's a fucking fine piece of architecture. But that's it.
I'm not bagging it, but like the fact that they've managed to split that, like we have the CBD. We've got like from South Bank all the way through to Latrobe Street is like, that's it. That's the central business district. That's where most of everything that happens in Melbourne happens. But Sydney was like, fuck that. We've got a whole bay to build around. Let's fucking just put a bit of the CBD over here and a bit of the CBD over here and a bit of it over here. And then just not create a good public transport infrastructure to go between any of them. Fucking ridiculous. Like,
that is
I'll never get over the fact that I went out in Sydney the night of daylight saving, switching over. So it switched forward an hour. We got kicked out of the pubs at 1 because 1 became 2 and then couldn't get any fucking public transport back to where we were staying because all of the public transport in Sydney on a Saturday night stops at 1 o'clock. But because it was now 2 o'clock because of daylight savings, they didn't give you an hour grace period. They just stopped. And we were stranded in the CBD with no way to get back out except to walk or get a taxi.
I could taste the salt coming into my ears on that one.
That was well seasoned.
That was well seasoned.
Really well seasoned.
Yep. And fucking Sydney has done nothing to improve that impression ever since. Like, what have you done, Sydney, to make me feel better about you? Nothing. Fuck you.
If a state could sue for defamation, we'd be fucked.
You know what? Fuck it. Bring it the fuck on.
Shelbyville is against us right now.
I will take down that whole fucking city myself. Burn it to the fucking ground. And also because like they completely fucked over the hospitality industry up there, and like as a person that works in hospitality, I kind of take that a little bit personally. So fuck them.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so while you're not going to the pubs anymore, there are, what else can you do in lockdown? Well, there's a lot of different things you can do in lockdown, and we'll talk about those a little bit later on in the show. But I feel like before we talk about anything else, we should probably talk about, instead of talking about the do's you should do, we should talk about the don'ts. And one of the don'ts in a lockdown is don't have a party. Unless it's on Zoom, like which I've seen people do. In fact, I saw a guy on Twitter, and apparently he gets on Zoom and he does a workout with his mates on Zoom. And the reason why I heard about it is because it was particularly funny because he got up, did the workout, and then fell asleep, but he forgot to hang up the Zoom call. So all of his mates just took silly screenshots with him like asleep in his bed while they were all like working out. But the don't is don't physically have a party. And of course, this was a very expensive lesson, mind you. There's a very expensive lesson that was learned by some of some local boys around me when the Dandy Boys got done by a dirty bird, as I like to say. So this was, I'm not sure when it exactly was. I don't know if it was last night or the night before. It might have been the night before last.
It was night before because I knew about this yesterday, and
okay.
I'm still popping.
Yeah. So what happened was I'm gonna tell this as a story. Actually, I'm not gonna treat it as a news. I'm gonna treat it like a story, like a saga, because it's actually pretty cool. I reckon we could make a really great short film about this. I think. Anyway, so This is in Dandenong, and for those of you who don't know, Dandenong is in the southeastern part of Melbourne. It's traditionally known as kind of like the other side of the tracks. It's a bit of a rundown, low socioeconomic class area. Although you wouldn't know it by going into central Dandenong these days. They've done a lot to like revitalize the area. It looks great these days. And then you go there at 8 o'clock at night, and there's like meth dealers every 20 meters. But anyway,
I was about to say, don't let it fool ya.
Yeah, don't let it fool you. Yeah. It's kind of like. It's kind of like Las Vegas. It looks pretty and shiny, and then you just got to scratch the surface to find the seedy underbelly. Anyway,
they did the same thing with Frankston.
They did the exact same fucking thing.
Main strip in Frankston, like, oh, it's nice here now. Like, no, it's not really.
Yeah, no. It's sort of like the buildings are nice, the people haven't changed. So that's Dandenong, and in Dandenong, of course, just like with any metropolitan suburb, you've got all your fast food joints, and this story takes place inside of a Kentucky Fried Chicken, a KFC establishment within Dandenong, and it's late in the evening. I think it was about 11 o'clock at night or something like that. And we have, in an act of supreme irony, we have two ambulance workers entering a KFC to fetch themselves some food. But, I mean, it's an act of supreme irony, but also an act of incredible convenience, because if one of them happens to have a heart attack from the greasy chicken, well, they got the ambulance literally right there. So I guess they, it's kind of the safest way to eat KFC, I guess. So they're in there, and they're ordering their meal, and they're just standing around having a little chin wag while they wait for their food. And another two fine, young, upstanding Dandenong gentlemen walk into the establishment, and they walk up to the counter. And usually when two gentlemen walk into a KFC to order some food, one might expect that they might, a usual order for a KFC might be, a couple of burgers, couple of sets of chips, some drinks, and that's about it. Maybe a few other things. Some people like coleslaw. I don't, but I'm not going to hold that against you. And that'll be about it. No, these two fine, upstanding young gentlemen walk in and order 20 meals. So 20 combo meals, which is a burger, chips, and a drink. And if you've ever seen your average dandy boy, the average dandy boy is not a large lad. The average dandy boy is actually quite a svelte gentleman, and is not someone that you might expect to be able to consume 10 persons worth of Kentucky Fried Chicken. This, of course, catches the attention of the ambulance workers, because I mean it's always a bit of a sight to see two people walk in and order an exorbitant amount of food. It's just something that always pricks your ears up. So they go, hold the phone. Why are they ordering 20 meals worth? They didn't look stoned. I mean, one might not blame them if they were, but of course they didn't look stoned, and so they thought, oh, this is a bit suspicious. Why are they ordering 20 persons worth of meal? So they got the number plate of the car that they were driving, and they passed it on to the local Victoria Police. Local Victoria Police, in an act of working alongside their fellow emergency services workers, go, yeah, righto, lads, we'll go and check it out, and they follow these two fine young upstanding gentlemen back to their residence. Obviously, neither of these gentlemen were trained in counter-surveillance techniques, because it really wasn't that hard to follow them back to their house.
You just turn left 4 times.
That's
how you know you're followed, bro.
So they go back to the house, but by the time that our two friends get back to the house, they do realize that they've been followed by the police, and they go, oh shit, what do we do? So they grab their food and they rush themselves inside the house, which is totally not suspicious at all. And of course, tell all the people inside the house, of which there were, surprise, surprise, 20 people inside the house. Not everybody wanted KFC that night, I suppose. And they said, boys and lads, it's the cops, it's the jacks, hide. And so where did they hide? Well, they all decided that the best place to hide was in the backyard. So they all rush into the backyard and go and stand in the backyard because, yeah, that's the best hiding place. Clearly, we're not dealing with sober people here, I think is safe to assume. Although some were smarter than others. Some according to 9news.com.au, and I think some of it was also supported by The Guardian. I read from multiple sources. Some people had hidden themselves underneath the couch and underneath beds in various bedrooms. So some people were smarter than others, but it was also the world's shortest game of hide and seek. And so eventually the police go in and they say, excuse me, we'd like to search the premises because we have reason to believe you're in breach of lockdown. And, well, it wasn't that hard because they just had to poke their head over the side gate and see, 20 people standing in the backyard. And they went, right, you're all nicked. And the fine for breaching lockdown laws is 1,652 Australian dollars. You can convert that into your local currency. I don't know what that is in freedom dollars. It's probably about 2 nickels or something like that. And that in total comes to $26,000 in fines. That is the most expensive dirty bird I've ever heard of.
It still pops me. It still fucking pops me. Because the simplicity of it all is that you got done by just going out and having a bit of a scran.
Yeah.
You just wanted to get some scran on, and then they just looked at it and just went, yeah, it's a bit odd that 20 meals were ordered there.
Yeah.
Because someone made a comment to me like yesterday. It was just like, and it was the simplest one. It's just like, can't believe, imagine getting done in for 20 meals only for the police to show up, and it was just all of your 20 meals anyway.
Yeah.
Like, what would be a bigger embarrassment to you, having to pay the $26,000 in fine because you had a party, or because the police had to walk away and go, fuck, what a fat lard, he was just having 20 meals.
Well, I did see an episode of Cops where that actual situation happened, but instead of KFC, it was marijuana. And it was a gentleman trying to not get done for possession with intent to supply by saying that he had about 2 pounds worth of marijuana in his car. And he tried to explain that it was for personal use. And basically, his excuse was that he buys marijuana the same way people go to Costco to buy meat. He just buys it.
He buys it in bulk. Now, hold on. Does marijuana go off, though?
I mean, it can. It can. Yeah, if you don't store it
Depends how
properly.
you store it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually, if you got bulk, chuck it in the freezer.
Yeah, but like if you don't, like what's the longevity of it? I'm asking for.
It'll still last.
Like,
It'll still last a while. Just like as long as it's in like a relatively airtight Ziploc bag.
Yeah.
Shit ain't gonna go off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as you store it in a dry place.
If it's somewhere that's like moisture is going to get to it, then you're in trouble. But
yeah,
you should be fine. But yeah, like
not that we know anything about it because marijuana is illegal here. That's just what I read on Google.
I'm more or less just asking out of curiosity. I've never touched a drug in my life, by the way. I barely even touch alcohol.
I've never bought weed in such a bulk supply I needed to freeze it.
No.
Well,
This was on an episode of Cops that I saw this. Like that's no joke. Like I did like that was the best episode of Cops I ever saw because this guy was honestly trying to talk his way out of it, and these two coppers were just not having it. They're like, mate, it's 2 pounds. Like, come on, dude. Like, what are you doing? And all of his mates, he had a couple of mates there, and they were like, "Yeah, dude, he just buys in bulk. It's like literally a thing he does." And I'm like, bro, you haven't got one brain cell between the two of you. Like, I really doubt that you guys know what's. Yeah.
To be like, I just got a 4K TV and Planet Earth on Blu-ray. I'm just gonna go home, watch some Attenborough. Like, is that? I'm sorry. Like,
you're for constitutional rights, bro.
Yeah,
bro. Fuck.
Bruh.
America. Boys, what are you doing in this situation? Are you guys not jumping a fence? Like, I would love to know how many people were actually at this party and just the percentage of them that just went, fuck it, all right, and high jumps it over the backyard and fucking sprints a couple of blocks.
This is the problem with, like, Australia is because we don't get parties that are, like, broken up in the traditional way that, say, American parties are. Because, like, you watch any American TV show and, like, that, especially because, like, there you can't drink till you're 21. So even, like, first year college party, technically illegal. But the trope in that is like cops rock up, someone like runs into the party or into the backyard just being like, cops are here, and then everyone just fucking splits, and everyone seems to have like mapped out their way out of the party already. So like you got the guy that fucking like just jumping the back fence, you got the guy going around like the side of the house through the side gate and then bailing down the street. You got like the one person that's gonna like run off like the top story of the house and like jump down into a hedge or something, and he's gonna fucking bail off another way. We don't have that here. Like, I've never been to a party. I've probably maybe one that I can't remember, but I've never been to a party where A, the cops were called, or B, we had to bail for. Oh no, wait. Okay, I've been to one party where we had to bail for a reason. It wasn't for the cops. It was a different reason. I won't get into that. But we don't have that like in our culture of like the cops are here, bail.
Yeah.
So their default was just like, oh, we'll just hide in the backyard. That'll work. Didn't work.
No.
But like, it's not ingrained into you, especially like, I'm assuming these guys are probably like early 20s, mid 20s.
Probably. Yeah, it doesn't specify.
Yeah, right. So like at that point in your life, your brain doesn't twig like, oh, I'm drinking, I'm doing something wrong, like it would when you were like 16 or 17.
Yeah.
So you're just like, oh yeah. But then like, you know, you got to remember that we're in lockdown, you can't have a party anymore. But if you hadn't had that, like being brought up at high school parties where like the cops rock up and you had to bail, if that ain't trained India, that ain't going to be trained in your mid 20s. You ain't going to like just think to me, oh fuck, I should run away.
Yeah. Well, there's also the alcohol factor there as well. Like they were probably all on the piss, so they're probably all 3 or 4 tinnies deep at this point.
It's a very good point.
So
and yeah,
like,
your brain ain't.
Yeah.
You're not firing every single synapse at that point.
No, certainly not. Certainly not.
Yeah, I think it's a funny like disparity between us and America is like, I wonder if that actually does happen. Like, cops rock up to underage parties and like some dude just runs to the room just like, the cops are here, guys, and then everyone just fucking bails, just runs down the street.
Yeah,
I did
it's a rarity for us to have cops called on us to begin with. Like, I've been to a fair few house parties, but I've never had a situation where the cops have had to have shown up other than maybe a noise complaint. Nothing beyond that. Not with the intent to shut down.
Yeah, they're not kicking you out. Even if it's like a high school party, they ain't kicking you out because usually like there's a parent or something there being like, because like I don't know if the rules have changed, but I know back in the day, like the supply law was different because your parents could buy you. Because I remember my parents buying me alcohol in the liquor store with me, and the guy was like, "It's for him." Mum's like, "Yeah." He's like, "No worries, you're buying it. There you go, not a problem." And they changed that like early 2010s, I think. But I know back in the day, like if there was someone there that was like technically a legal guardian at a party or at a house, and there was underage people drinking, that was fine because it was private property. You weren't disturbing anyone, and there was someone there of age supervising everyone else. So I don't know. I don't think it's a thing that we've ever had to worry about in Australia. It's a different thing to what it is like over in America.
Yeah,
where it seems like parties get broken up and it's this huge deal, and you make entire movies about the entire premise of a party being broken up.
Yeah. The only story I've ever heard that's even remotely similar is from my dad, and this was back when he was in high school. So this is going on. What would this be? Oh, geez, like 50 odd years ago now. Basically, this was like late high school, so he was about 17, 18, and what they used to do, him and all the other year 12 students, is they'd sneak out of school. This is at lunchtime. They'd sneak out of school and go across the street. There was a local kind of cafe there, and they'd have lunch. And of course, this was against the school rules to leave the grounds. But honestly, they would go there, to have lunch. They'd get a sandwich, get a coffee, be fucking boring ass Melburnians, and then the bell would ring and they'd go back to class. It really wasn't that big of a deal. But this is also back in the day when principals principals have always had to stick up their ass, but this is sort of like back in the days when principals used to be able to hit people, so they used to have a particularly mean streak through them. And so of course it's not in the shopkeeper's best interest to get busted as well, because this is all really good business. And so anytime a teacher would rock up, somebody be on the lookout for the teacher, and if somebody called out, oh, there's a teacher coming, they'd all get hidden in the back room of the shop, back in the back storeroom of the shop. And of course the teacher would come in, the shopkeeper would be like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I didn't just have 40 teenagers in here. What are you talking about? Meanwhile, he's stuffing cash down the back of his pants. And so one of these days, though, the teacher was in there and was like, I know for a fact there's some teenagers around here. I can smell it. And so this guy was like, okay, well, this isn't going to happen. So he basically sneaks him out the back door. Goes back, he goes, oh, excuse me, I need to go into my storeroom for a minute to fetch some things. Goes into the storeroom where all the kids are, says, all right, lads, you got to out the back door. So he gets them all out the back door, and out the back door there was a little alleyway. And lo and behold, who's out in the back alley? It's the principal. And all these kids have just marched themselves out the back door into this back alley, and there's the principal there, and he's blocked off the alleyway with his car. And Then the kids see that and they go scram, and at that point, I mean, it's like an explosion of human bodies. Like people just start going everywhere. People start leaping fences, going back through the cafe, through the back door. Apparently, my dad swears to me, one bloke actually leapt over the car that was blocking off the alleyway and
Brilliant.
stuff like that. And of course, and technically nobody was ever actually caught because there was no way, like the teachers weren't able to positively identify anybody because all they saw was just a mass of kids just scrambling. But that's the only story I've ever heard of a situation like that, and it's got nothing to do with police. You know what I mean? It's not even illegal. Like they weren't even doing anything illegal against the law. They were eating sandwiches and drinking coffee. Like that's it. That's what they were doing. And having a chat. Like they were just being Melburnians, and that was their crime. So yeah, you're absolutely right, Ricki. Like it's just not a thing that's just trained into the Australian psyche.
Can I just switch the topic really quickly?
Yeah.
All right, because there's something I really want to talk about that's just been on my head for the past week. All right, and I'm convinced there's a science to it.
Yeah.
Now, moving away from mass gathering public gimmicks to a more isolated thing that you can do by yourself, I was on a hike. So I've been getting into hiking recently, right? As like both my way of dealing with cardio and way of like staying on top of like, you know, just athletic stuff during quarantine and being like, it's a fun little activity. I think more people should hike, by the way. All right, a little bit of a PSA. More people should hike.
Can you still do that? Because you can't leave Melbourne anymore. Are there any good hiking spots?
Yeah, as of the stage 3 restrictions, you can't, because most of the hiking stuff is out in the regional side anyway.
Yeah.
So you can't even go out that way.
Right.
But you can still do some like bigger walking trails.
Oh yeah,
which
for sure.
I would consider like stage 1.
Yeah.
No, but I was out on my hike, right? And I'm convinced there's got to be a fucking science to this. Because I was out with a couple of mates when we were doing a hike. Most of them being females. So like this is why this comes into play. I start the hike and I don't think I go looking for it, but they just find me. And what I mean by that is I find really nice sticks. And my brain, no, boys, I'm not even fucking with you because I got a hell of a story, and I want to see if you guys can back me up on it.
No, I already relate to this way too much.
See, I mean, this is exactly what I'm saying, okay? Because it must just be a male thing. It just must be imprinted in our minds. Because as soon as I see the stick, I just go, I gotta pick that stick up. Yep, gotta pick that stick
100%.
up. And then I pick that stick up, and I turn around, I look at the stick, and then just subconsciously I've gone, this is a nice sturdy stick. You're my stick. All right. And I carry the stick through with me on the walk. So I turn over to one of my mates on the walk and I'm just like explaining it to him. I'm trying to explain it to her what goes through my head when I'm picking up this stick and why men pick up sticks. Right. And because she turns to me and just goes, why is it just you guys always pick up sticks? Like no matter what it is, you'll just pick up a stick and you'll just carry the stick and you'll use the stick for things that you don't even need a stick for. Right. You'll hit trees. You'll just touch things with the stick because it's just in your brain. I'm just like, yeah, this is what it is. It's just some unwritten code in our DNA as men. We never speak about it, but we just understand that when we see a stick, we got to pick up the stick. And if we see a better stick, we have to pick up that stick too and then evaluate the two sticks side by side and conclude that the stick that we have just picked up is better than that stick and dispose of that stick. And then use that new stick as our stick. This is our stick. All right. And I was explaining this, and maybe the explanation lasted like 2 minutes. I wasn't mansplaining. Don't worry. All right, I'm not that kind of guy. But
I don't think stick talk falls under mansplaining. But
I don't think it can because I was like I was trying to defend me of picking up the stick because I had wasted about 30 seconds of our time on the hike as I had stopped, looked to my side, and gone, damn, that's a nice stick. All right. And like, it wasn't even something that was obvious on the trail. It's just that my male brain picked it up that there was a stick in the vicinity and I saw it at the gleaning from the left of my eye, my peripheral. And I was like, that's a fucking sturdy stick. That's my stick. I'm getting that stick. I'm going to get that stick.
Yeah.
As I wrapped up this conversation, I was telling him, I was just like, I'm convinced that at least 50% of the people that we will see on the trail today, of all of the men, most of them will have sticks. Guaranteed. I was like, guarantee you. A minute goes by as I wrap this up, maybe a minute further into the hike. I literally see the exact same thing happening walking towards me. Another guy had picked up a stick and he has turned to his girlfriend and I can almost faintly, because it was about maybe 100, 150 meters and we were walking towards, he might have finished the hike and we were just beginning our hike. And so he's walking towards me and I can see it in his body language. He's justifying and defending him picking up this stick, right? And his wife is pushing the pram. All right, so he's with the child, and he's just gone and found this stick. And as we have walked past each other, we have locked eyes. I have looked at him. He has looked at me, and we have both gone, "That's a nice stick, bro." And we have both smiled and nodded at each other as we have walked by. I had the biggest stick, so I had the biggest smile, and he was kind of like, and he kind of like looked at his wife and was like, "Damn, that's a nice stick." Now, this story, fucking cherry on top, is at least 90% of the people I had bumped into on this hike, I want to say about 15 other males, all had sticks on them. Throughout the next 4 hours of this hike, I ran into about 15 people who had fucking sticks on them. And at the end of the hike, I turned around, I was like, "Fucking told you. Something is in our blood to pick up a good stick. And I just need justification from you boys."
Dude, okay, you want justification? Here it is. When I was like 14 or 15 years old, my parents took me and my brother out of school for 3 months, and we like traveled all around Australia, spent most of our time in the Northern Territory. And a lot of what you do up there is, you know, sightseeing and going on hikes and walks and stuff around canyons and big things up in the Northern Territory, right? And you got me, 14 or 15 years old, going on a bunch of hikes in the Northern Territory for 3 months, seeing all the sights and everything, who's also just finished watching the Lord of the Rings trilogy and has become obsessed with Lord of the Rings. So every stick that I saw that was a good stick was like, it was a sword, or it was Gandalf's staff, or it was some other prop that I could play. And like, you go to like Northern Territory, that is some like Middle Earth in the fucking summer looking shit up there. There's not so much snow, but it is very wild and sort of rough terrain. And you just kind of like, when you're 14 years old, your imagination can get fucking ahead of you pretty easily. So like, I'm fighting off orcs and shit with the sticks, man. Like, I'm just going full ham, you know, in my head. And yeah, I know the feels, man. Like, you see a good stick, you just like, that stick has many possibilities. That stick could be,
because it's more than just a stick.
It is. I built a bow and arrow while I was up there as well. I found like a really good, like, straight stick that had a heap of flex in it. And I spent like the next 3 days, like, hardening it over fire, carving the notches into the top and bottom, and then finding a bit of string in the back of the ute and actually creating a functioning bow and arrow while I was up in the Northern Territory. Because I'm like, that stick has potential, and it was bow and arrow potential. Like, I went fucking hard.
Yeah, good.
I know what you mean.
Yeah,
the stick thing is just a thing in your head where you're just like, that's a fucking good stick. I'm going to grab that stick.
There absolutely is a stick relationship there. It's funny. It's just that my relationship to sticks kind of changed when I was a kid because, to use a Lord of the Rings metaphor, I had the one stick to rule them all. When I was a kid, like, my dad used to take my sister and I like all the time to these down to earth confests, which is a bit different. Like, these days it's a bush stuff and you go up there and it's all like electronic music and stuff like that. But back in the day, it wasn't like that. It was
Confest.
Yeah, back in the day, it wasn't like that. although it started to get a bit like that when we used to go, because like King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard and stuff were like starting to come onto the scene.
King Giz.
Yeah. But
big fan like King Giz on this cast.
Yeah. Back in the day, like, Confest, like drum circles and hippie communes and people throwing beads out the back of the truck.
And everybody was naked and covered in body paint. Yeah, exactly. So that's what we used to do. So like, we were at one of these, and one of the guys there was a big fan of whittling, and he'd gone out and he'd cut down some bits of a tree. I don't know what it was. I think he found a downed gum tree. And he'd cut off a couple of branches and he'd carved them into walking sticks. And he gave them to my sister and I. So we each had like the one stick, and they were some thick, sturdy boys. I think I've still got it. I don't know where it is, but I've still got it. And
actually still have one of the sticks I got on a walk a couple of months ago. It's just sitting in my room. So
that's what I mean. Like,
because it was a nice stick.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I mean. So like this stick was handed to me, when I was, how old was I? I think I was about 7 or 8. And how old am I now? 27. So this was 19 years ago, and I still remember that stick. And I've still got it. So, Yeah, there's definitely a relationship there. I've never had the need to pick up another stick and compare because I've always had the better stick, I guess. It's kind of like when you're playing a video game and you get some like end game loot at like level 3, like it's kind of like that. And then you never need to swap it out.
I got the best boots. I don't need more boots. Fuck your
Exactly.
boots.
Exactly. I got the best stick. So I don't exactly.
I'd love to know the biology of it though. Like, why is it? Because no female on that hike had a stick. None. Like, they just don't pick up sticks. I want to know the biology of why is it that I'm so attuned to just know that a good stick is near me and I must pick it up.
I think it has to do with sort of like going back to the hunter-gatherer days of like humanity. So like, I mean,
Spear.
It's a spear. It's a weapon that can be used for hunting. It's like and you're out in the bush and you're out there, and even though you're not explicitly out there hunting, like the ancient part of your brain, because you got to keep in mind our brains are 20,000-year-old hardware running on 21st century software.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Like there's an old ancient part of the human brain that still thinks that we're out on the savannah. That we've literally just like climbed off a tree last week, and that part of the brain is sort of like yeah, I could really go for some good venison right now. Oh, wouldn't mind me a nice slice of deer. Oh, I want to get me some of that. And of course, that part of the brain isn't just saying, hey, I want some deer. It's going, let's go and get some fucking deer. And the way it expresses that is by saying you're gonna need something to like cut a deer with, and the best way to do that is with a spear. So I think that's where that part of the brain kind of manifests. And again, like I said, it goes back to the hunter-gatherer days of like, that was how our species was divided, is that the men would hunt and the women would gather. And so that hunting part of it evolved into the need to identify and collect weapons.
I'm identifying this as canon because I feel so strongly with that, because every time I'm on a hike, something in my brain just clicks and I just feel like a different person when I'm out there.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's three things. It's a weapon of offense to take down potential food. It's a weapon of defense to protect yourself from other predators, and it's a tool to help you walk on rough terrain.
Yeah.
With ease, or with like a little bit extra ease. So it's three things in one. A good stick is all those things, really. At the end,
I'm a man that loves efficiency, so I feel that too.
Yeah.
It's got to be like some pro. Was it pro magnum part of the brain that's just like stick good.
That's it.
This good stick, me pick up.
It's big good stick. Yeah.
Yeah, and because you also see this kind of this concept expressed in other primates. Like you look at like other primates that use tools, like chimpanzees, like chimpanzees and orangutans and stuff.
The ones that always get me are the ones that like they stick sticks into the termite nest, and the termites attach to the stick, and they pull it out and just eat the termites off the stick. Yeah, fucking genius.
But like they're not
so
just
smart.
But like the way they pick their sticks though is the exact same way David described it. Though now, granted, they're not going for the big. The criteria they use for their stick choice is a bit different, but I don't think that actually
Mine
matters.
is not a bit like I had the biggest stick at the time, but I got rid of this huge stick that I had for a sturdier, more aesthetic stick later on.
Right,
and that was my final stick. I named him Stickson.
Right, exactly. And so even if the criteria for picking the stick changes, the act of collecting a stick hasn't changed among primate species. And you'll see them when they go out and looking for a good stick to stick into the termite mound, and they'll sit there and they'll grab a couple of sticks and they'll do exactly what you said, Dave. They'll hold them, they'll evaluate them for like 30 seconds, and then they'll drop one and take the other. But they'll keep those sticks for like ages and ages and ages. They will collect them and carry them with them like on a daily basis if they find a particularly good stick. And it's not until they find a better one that they'll ditch the current one. And even then, you can tell it's like they're fucking thinking about it because they've developed an emotional bond to that first stick. It's like, man, I got so many fucking good termites with this stick, but look at this other one. Oh, fuck, it's so good. And
dude,
that,
that first time I had to make the switch,
it was about
it was like I genuinely got a little bit emotional internally. Like I'm not even fucking with you, because I had such a good stick and I had it for about 20 minutes at that point. But then there was just out of the corner of my eye this really sturdy looking kind of sword length stick, and I was like, it's more practical. But I have such an attachment with Stickson 1. I had named him like he was my stick.
Stickson first.
And I looked at this other stick and I actually looked at the one that I was going to get rid of, and I said goodbye.
Yeah.
I literally looked at it, I was like, I'm so sorry. I've got to let you go. And I placed him on the ground. I didn't throw him. I placed it on the ground. And I was like, I hope you get picked up by someone else. I hope someone else looks at you as well and goes, that's a nice stick.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's where that explanation is. But I don't know. I'm not an anthropologist. Like I don't fucking know. We'd have to go and talk to what's the name of that lady who lives with the does she live with the gorillas or live with the orangutans?
Love, I couldn't even tell you.
What's it? I can't remember her name now off the top of my head. But anyway, yeah, she'd probably know. I don't know what her name is, but she's oh god, I feel really bad. What's her name?
Jane Goodall.
Jane Goodall, yeah, she'd know. Somebody should ask Jane Goodall. She'd know. She'd be like, "Yo, what's the deal with sticks and primates?"
Jane Goodall was an actress.
No, she's a scientist.
She's a fucking idiot. Then.
She's world renowned. She went and lived with like a group. I don't know what you call them. A tribe, a pack of. I think it was orangutans or chimpanzees for like I can't remember how long.
I think it was chimps.
Yeah, she went and lived with them for a good chunk of time. And through that, she learned a whole heap about their behavior and social structures and shit like that and brought it all back.
That is an absolute dream.
Yeah, well...
I love monkeys. I love them so much.
Yeah, so that's...
Specifically baboons. Oh...
Well, you don't want to go living with baboons. Baboons are kind of like the dandy boys of the primate world. Like they're the
but they're just
kids.
so fun to look at, baboons. I love baboons.
But they're also warlike. Like they go to war with each other. Like no joke.
Yeah, fair enough. That's true. That is true.
Like
so do chimpanzees, man.
So do chimpanzees, but baboons are like baboons.
So do gorillas. Let's be fair.
No. There is a whole documentary about a chimpanzee civil war that like has been happening for decades, and it's these two tribes that just fucking fight constantly back and forth.
Yeah, they're in Central Africa, aren't they? Yeah,
I think they're like in the Congo or something like that.
Yeah,
but someone went in and studied them, and they're like these chimps have gone like they're full like carnivores now. They don't eat fucking anything that isn't meat, and usually it's the other tribe. They have been warring for years, man.
I need to see this.
I will hunt down what it's called and I'll send it to you. But
drop me the link.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called right now. But yeah, it's these two warring factions of chimpanzees have been going at it for fucking forever, man. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah,
and they are like if you watch like Planet of the Apes, the new trilogy they did.
Yep.
And like all the apes are like scarred up and shit from like the war, like the battles and stuff they had with the humans.
Mm-hmm.
That's what these fucking apes look like because they've been warring at each other for that long that they're all just like scarred and cut up and they look fucking gnarly as hell. It's insane. I'll hunt it down and I'll send it to you, Dave, and I might send it to you, John, and we can post it somewhere for people to find. But
yeah, for sure.
It's nuts how fucking like
from a war of territory to now a personal war. That's like,
what it feels like.
That's what I love to see from this.
Yeah, someone said that like the way it feels now, like the people that study it, it's like it's not about territory as much anymore as it's kind of personal now.
Imagine taking on like the war of your ancestors as well, because if this has been going on for years, there's got to be at least a third generation of chimps coming in.
I think there's been a few generations. Yeah.
That's
I can't remember how I stumbled upon it, but I did one day, and I like started researching it like on Wikipedia and stuff. I'm just like, this is fucking insane. Apparently, there's like a documentary they've done about it as well. So I'm like, it's fucking nuts, man. But then that just goes to show, war is innate in chimpanzees. You can't really get in apes. Sorry, you can't really get rid of it.
No. That's it. Yeah. So they've been doing that. But also tool use, by the way, just like we always think of primates as like being unique because we use tools. I just read a thing. Apparently dolphins use tools as well. They
suck on jellyfish or blowfish to get high is what I've...
Yeah,
one of my favorite things I've seen.
Yeah, they'll do that, but I mean, it's specifically like, but that's not really using a tool. That's like, hey, if I lick this jellyfish, I'm gonna go fucking loopy. That's not really using a tool. But like, I saw a dolphin. Somebody studied it. Dolphins will teach their young to grab a sea sponge and put it over their nose. And then they can move along the seabed and like hunt and like look for like little things to eat without anything like fucking up their nose. So they use the sponge as kind of like a face shield to protect themselves as they go like looking for little things to eat.
And there's an entire fucking country complaining about using a mask, but a fucking dolphin can do it.
Yeah.
Ease up, America. Come on.
Yeah.
Put
yeah.
the mask on.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I just went and bought some more because they're saying here we should be wearing masks when we can't, like indoors and stuff. So I just had to go and pick up some more masks because like the ones I had weren't quite adequate and stuff. So we've just done that. That's money I just spent. That's great. Anyway, with that, we'll leave it there for today. I want to thank my guests for joining me, Ricki Needs and David Young. Boys, thank you.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
And if you like this episode, please tell 2 friends in 2020. You can subscribe to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or iTunes or really anywhere you like to listen to podcasts. We're pretty much everywhere. Everywhere all good podcasts are sold. And if you want to, keep up with our gimmicks throughout, especially if you want to find out about that chimp documentary and stuff like that, suss our, suss our.
Man, she fucking named them all too. This is like Jane Goodall. She was the one that discovered this.
Yeah. And
she'd named them all, and then they started warring with each other.
Oh.
And she had to kind of like sit there and watch it happen.
Wow, I didn't realize it was her group of chimps that had gone to war. Oh, geez.
It was one of the ones that she was studying. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like
right.
it's finished out. It was in the 70s, so I wasn't remembering it quite correctly. But it happened in the 70s, and she was like there studying it as it was happening. That's fucked. Imagine that.
Fantastic.
It's like watching your kids fight.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like that is nuts.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. Anyway. So we'll find that documentary, and if you want to get kept up to date on where that documentary is, you can suss our Instagram at pint.party. We'll let you know when we find it there, or on our Twitter if Instagram's not your thing at pint party. So we'll keep you up to date on those. You can follow us on those two, either of those two, and we'll let you know what's going on. Also, if you're looking for something to watch, again, we're back into lockdown. We're back in the work from home gimmick and everything like that. If you're in Melbourne, but if you're anywhere else and you're kind of looking for something to watch during the day, check out our Twitch. We have a Twitch called twitch.tv/pintparty, and I'm streaming on there 4 days a week. So at the moment, I'm on Sundays and Mondays, I stream Exapunks, and on Thursdays and Fridays, I stream Final Fantasy XII, The Zodiac Age, except for the other day when I did a very special stream. I did a PC build stream where I built my brand new computer, and I got it to post fucking first try. Oh, I'm excited about that. Anyway.
It's always the best feeling.
Oh my God, yeah, it was, because I was convinced I'd fucked it up too. I was so convinced I'd fucked something up, and then I didn't. And like every time I keep testing out new bits, like I'm like, oh, did I fuck up the front IO? No, I didn't. We're like, oh my God, everything works, all the ports work and everything. It's unbelievable. Anyway, so we got all that going, and so that's twitch.tv/pintparty, and the best way to get informed about when the streams go live and stuff is just to follow us on our Twitter at pintparty, as I mentioned before. But if watching stuff live isn't your bag, and I totally understand that, like, just convenience and time zones and stuff, you can always catch up with all the VODs on our YouTube. So if you just search Pint Party on YouTube, you'll find it all there, as well as the podcast as well. So you can listen to the podcast there, or you can check out our previous streams, and there's heaps there now. We've got like you can watch some SimCity 2000 gameplay. There's like 90 hours of Exapunks gameplay, and there's some Final Fantasy 12 gameplay, which is just starting to go up now. That's on a whole new playlist called the Gimmick Age, because I'm playing Final Fantasy 12 the Zodiac Age. So this is the Gimmick Age. It's great. So that's all just started up. So there's a few videos there, and in fact, actually, one of those videos, the latest episode of that, which if you're listening to this when we put out the podcast on Tuesdays, will be coming out tomorrow. If you're listening to it right now, that's actually the first video I've ever rendered on my brand new PC. So you can go and watch that and go, wow, it looks exactly the same as all the other videos you've rendered. Like, but on my end, it happened faster, and that means something to me. And with that, this has been Pint Party. Cheers.
Cheers.
This podcast is part of the Hartefact Podcast Network. For more of this and our other podcasts, head to hartefactstudios.com.au.